We are live.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
How is everybody doing?
How are you, Jan? Let's start there.
Well, Jan is great. Jan is grateful.
Awesome, awesome.
Jan is excited.
You are.
Yeah.
I am gonna
How are
share.
you?
A little bit tired and a little bit of, you know. All right. Well, it's already on my Facebook, so I don't need to. I'm gonna copy it over to this identify. But yeah, I'm not bad. Today was a little bit taxing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I'm good. I have a little headache,
Mm.
but other than that, I am actually good. I'm good.
Nice, nice,
How was
nice.
your day?
My day. My day was a little frustrating. Um, not not what I thought it would be, but I'm learning to trust.
Yeah, kind of interesting what we're going to be talking about today because the trust factor will be coming into that a whole lot,
Yeah. Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
whole lot, a whole lot.
So today's topic is we will testify.
Who is we?
Me and you.
Oh, okay. I'll just check.
We. And anybody else who wants to join us in testifying.
Please
So,
do so, right?
how is it done again, Andrew?
Which one? What?
The country way of testifying. What is it?
The what way?
The country way.
I don't know.
The one where you get up in the service and you say,
And
Praise Jesus.
you're asking me. I
Anyway, and for some reason it is failing me, but anyway.
That's funny.
So we will testify, you know. Um, our testimony is like super important. It not only strengthens us, but it strengthens those who hear us. So our testimonies are very important. Very often we're tempted to keep our stories to ourselves, and we're thinking, oh my God, nobody wants to hear that, or we're embarrassed by it. That you're thinking, boy, I was even in that position in the first place anyway. I can't
Oh,
tell anybody that. I present this picture of having it all together, and I'm going to tell the testimony of when I was, on my face, and people are gonna judge me, so I don't want to say. But my experience has been in sharing is that it has given people hope, that especially people who are in the situation that you have come out of, it gives people hope that I can come out of this, or this too is temporary, or this pit that I'm in, it's not going to kill me. And so, and the verse in the Bible says, and they overcame him
by the
by the
blood
blood of the Lamb and by the
and the
word
word
of
of the
their testimony.
testimony. Yeah.
Right? So we're overcomers.
Well, I'm over. Yes, we're
We're
overcomers,
overcoming. We're
and we
daily
are overcoming.
overcoming.
Right,
Daily
we're
overcoming.
overcomers, and we are overcoming. I would love for us to share the first one, which is how we even started this life, because that in itself, that in itself, I think will resonate with a lot of us who have things that we want to get done, things that we have in our mind that we need to do as the next step, but that fear factor that comes in, the committees and the voices in our heads that tell us all the reasons why we are not to take the step or not to take it now. And it's
Or you don't have everything in place.
not
It's
yet.
perfect.
um, um
Um, I
not
need
to
to
mention the fraud, what we call that one again, the
the,
not
the What was it again?
Imposter,
Imposter syndrome, right?
and
Right.
feeling that you have no rights to
Or
even
you're
do,
not enough.
you're not enough, and you're going to be shamed if you take this step. But how we started was really, really interesting. And I remember the first live that we did, I deleted it.
No, no, no. So start at the beginning. Start at the beginning.
um I mean, well, so Jan trying to push me out, because naturally it's a part of what I need to do to share with people what I do. And that took a serious amount of overcoming because I've always been a very private and personal person. Um, I'm not necessarily one who wants to go forward. Give me the background, give me all the work to do in the back, and I'm good. And here is God leading me in a place where I have to be in front. I have to be in people's faces. I have to be talking. And that was a major hurdle I had to cross. And then God sent Jan in my life. People have been
Tell
trying
them
to
how you
push
gave
me.
me that look when I told you we're gonna do live. Tell them about the look you gave me.
Oh God, it was more the thoughts. You thought the look was bad, you should have heard the thinking. But guys, it wasn't perfect at all.
Absolutely.
Um, we thought we had some stuff together. It turned out on the day while we're doing the live, some things weren't the way that we expected it to be. Um, but you know what we decided to do? To stick to the commitments and to learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy at the fact that the second live was better. And then each live that we've done have improved also.
Mm-hmm.
One of the interesting thing was that before we did the first live, I had no idea how it would have worked, how it would have rolled out, how it would have been received, and all of those questions. And we decided, listen, we can't pretend anyway. We're just gonna be ourselves. We're gonna be true, and we're gonna talk. And one of the things is we just talk from our heart. We're talking from our real, real experience. So it's not a script. And God was faithful to just have it flow. It just flowed, and each session got easier. The more we did it, was the more easier it became. And I don't worry about the sessions. When Monday come, we deal with it when it comes, and it flows. Sometimes we even say, okay, let's deal with this on the day. And on the day that we start talking, the conversation goes in a different direction, you know. So the experience has been good, but what I want to highlight is the fact that we had to take that first step, that bold, uncomfortable, nerving first step. That step of not seeing clearly what is ahead, not feeling prepared, not even thinking you're supposed to be doing it. And we went ahead and did it. And we're at now what? This is our eighth session?
Mm-hmm.
Right. This is the eighth one we've done. So yeah, I don't
You
know what's
know, you
your take
know.
on it.
Well, my takeaways from this testimony is that um just start in whatever state. I remember my first ever live. I had a friend who challenged me. That day was a really bad hair day, and I had my head wrapped up. And she said, "I challenge you to start." And I did, and it was a really freeing feeling because I knew I was to have done it from a long time. And I found every reason. I said, I need a mic, then I need a camera, then I need a this, then, and I found every reason in the book. And she called me on it that day. So for me, several things. Look for somebody who's going to champion you, who's going to help you get out of the comfort zone and into the uncomfortable zone.
Oh Lord, yeah.
Because the uncomfortable zone is where growth happens. Growth happens in the uncomfortable zone. The other thing for me is you won't get it perfect the first time. And it's okay. So stop striving toward it's okay to strive and say, boy, I really want to do my best. But when that best is getting in the way of getting it done, you have to recognize when that point is and just pull the trigger. And I've listened to people who have said to you, just start. They're like, when they look back at their first video, they're horrified because now they've learned so much. They're completely horrified at what they did, but it's what brought them to that
Where they
place.
are. Yeah.
So whatever it is that God has told you to start, whatever it is that you have in your heart that you really want to, and you've been dreaming about it, but the committees in your head have been telling you all the reasons why you can't do it, all the reasons in the world. And by the way, don't be afraid. I think we addressed it in one of the
The
in
sessions.
one of our sessions. Don't be afraid to challenge those voices. That committee, tell it, thanks. I know you're trying to protect me, but we gotta do this. We gotta grow. We have to grow. We can't. We're coming to the end of another year, right? And how many things did you have on that list to do that you didn't step out and do
Mm.
because you were fearful? Because the committees told you all the reasons why you couldn't. What are some of those things? And we're issuing the challenge now because here we are, 8 sessions later, telling you that yes, it was uncomfortable. Yes, we felt a little cringy or whatever the word is, but we did it. We kept pushing forward. So there are two
Mm.
things. One is consistency, and the other one is perseverance. Listen, almost every week, almost sometimes just in the nick of time, we have all sorts of technology
Something
issues,
happens.
all sorts of things that would say, all right, you know what, Andrea and Jenny, just park
Let's
this now.
cancel to let's cancel. Let's
Just
cancel.
cancel, right? And I'm grateful to God because He really just kept us,
Yeah.
just, you know. And so that for me, I'm encouraging you. There is nothing that 95% or 98% of all the things that you're afraid of that could happen very often does not happen.
Mm-hmm. And
And
then
if
there's
it,
the other side.
yeah,
What you're fearful that it doesn't work out the way you want to. But then what about maybe it does work out? The
yeah,
probability is equal,
hmm,
you know? So
yeah,
you're not losing anything if you try.
yeah. Yeah. And if it doesn't work out, that's
You
just one
learn.
other way that you find. If it doesn't work out, you learn.
You learn
So
from it.
you're always winning, You're
Yeah.
always winning. Um Another testimony.
Um yeah, as we go into it there, I guess there is the before we get to the testimony, there is the thinking that comes. And I had there is the fear factor because you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about what it is that prevents you from taking that step. Even
Mm-hmm.
when your heart knows, I need to do this next, or I need to, you know, take this step in order to accomplish something I truly want. And then the fear comes in. What is fear and what drives the fear? There is uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't know how it's going to turn out. But then if you think about it, whether we take the step or not take the step, there is still going to be uncertainty.
There you go.
So why not take the step? So what does it require to overcome that need? Because we want certainty. That's a natural part of who we are. We want to be able to predict. We want to be able to guarantee that it's safe, it's successful, it's good. Nobody wants to get up and hurt themselves. And so our desire for certainty is a very natural desire. But then if we bear in mind that our understanding, our thoughts are limited, our perspective is limited, we need to accept the fact that there is so much that we don't know. And
Mm-hmm.
so it is trust that we now have to exercise. Trust, but trust has to be directed to something bigger than us, something that
Mm-hmm.
is guaranteed, something that has a level of assurance. And for us, our trust is in God.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a relationship with him, then you may find that your trust is whether in a principle or a process or something, but just something that you think is sturdier than you, but those things will fail because they are man-made anyway. And so the ultimate trust um is God. So you direct your trust to him. And when you trust him because he is the beginning and the end, because he is in full control, you know that even the uncertain is in his hands, you know? Um, so I walked away from corporate. I walked away from the certainty of having that monthly pay come into your bank account. And those of us who have a full-time job, even though sometimes you might be frustrated with the environment, you think twice because you have your bills to pay, you have mortgage, you have kids to take care of, you have these recurring expenses, right? You have to live. And our jobs give us that level of certainty. At least, every month, all things being well, once you have your job, you are guaranteed to get X amount. Whether you think you deserve that pay or it's in line with your value, that's besides the point. But you're guaranteed to have X amount based on your contract. And I had to take that step, Jan. So it wasn't to answer a call first. It really was to run from a very toxic environment, but also to get healing for myself because I recognized I needed healing. Now that's a whole different level of uncertainty. Who going to give me the healing? Are you sure the healing is going to come? When you do get the healing, what's going to happen after that? So it was a full of uncertainty, but I had to trust God. I didn't get up and say, I'm going to trust God, so I'm going to do it. I got up and I said, I needed the change. Therefore, I'm going to trust God. That's actually the order that it came. Um, and in trusting God, where I am now is nothing like what I had imagined. So when I say to you that we only see in part and we understand in part, that's a real experience I have had because the journey he took me on would never have been something I had on my vision board years ago. It wouldn't have been something I would have been seeing in high school or prep school. When I grow up, I want to be, right? It just wasn't there. But God just worked it in a way where all of the pieces of my puzzle is now coming together, right? So I could not have orchestrated this as well as he has orchestrated it. So in the midst of uncertainty, I had to trust God. And in trying to trust God, it means that I had to also put myself in a position to hear from him and to be in step with him. So that's the responsibility we have. We're on this journey. We don't know where we're going and we're trusting God in the journey. I need to hear. I need to be very close to his heart, right? And so that was the responsibility I had to carry. But I'm telling you, he has been faithful. Am I where I need to be? Not yet, but I am way ahead of where I was. And the issue that led me to take this journey, those issues are resolved. So the personal challenges, the inner challenges, the healing, the daddy issues, all of those things that, all the hurts with the relationships you've been in, with the guys, all of those build up of hurts over the years, your own insecurities, your lack of confidence, like God literally had to do an inside job on me. Um, that meant, though, that the external wasn't growing as much during that time. So that even brings another level of uncertainty because you're hoping that you're going to be growing in your professional life and you're coming from an executive as a corporate. There's an image now that you have to carry of continuity and status and success. And it's like on the outside, those things are just not there because God is doing an inside project first, you know. And so the trust had to also be that his process is more brilliant than what I would have wanted. And I had to get to the fact that I have to focus on what matters most. And then when my inside is healed, then the growth on the external will come in no time. But you have to trust that process again. So that's part of one of my things. Uncertainty was a big issue. And one of the things that I had to do to counter it, it didn't go away, You still worry about the uncertainty. You still have the fears that come up. But what you have to remember is who you're putting your trust in, who is guiding you in this process, and most assuring, it's not your plan, it's his. So if you can't figure it out, it's okay. It's actually his plan. So he is the one who needs to figure it out. So I just need to follow his lead. So
But Andrew, that's kind of like you telling my story as well. Having come out of corporate, that's the amazing thing about both of us, that we've had similar stories where you come out of corporate, you're in an executive job, and the whole image and the whole thing. For me, it was a stripping away of a lot of the things that I put my trust in.
yeah,
You know, if God calls you for something and you have your trust in other things, you best believe He's going to take away those things from you. But I describe the time in my life as the worst of times, but the best
yes,
of times. Because when you talk about that inner work, that amazing inner work that God does. So I mean, I have so many stories of God, of just learning to trust God for my everything, of God showing up just in the nick of time to put money in my hand, to put food on my table. And I always tell people, me and my children never went to bed hungry ever. God always just showed up in some weird ways. When you read stories of people showing up at your house without food the day you don't have any food, yeah, that's me. Or showing up,
it's
or,
no
or,
longer
pe-
a story.
or, or, or people giving you grace where you don't deserve it. That's me. I
Yeah,
mean, I am very clear that God is real because He has shown up for me over and over and over again. Um, there are just so many things that He has just taken me and stripped all of the things that really don't serve me.
yeah.
But of course, you're blinded by what the world says you should have, all the trappings of, the corporate job, the house, the perfect
What
house,
success looks like.
of what success looks like. But
Yeah,
God's idea of success and our idea is two completely different things. Completely
yeah.
different things. Um, I've seen Him show up in some really. I remember I was ready to give up on my marriage even, and God said to me, "Who gave you permission?"
You think you're big.
Me think big, and God said, "Who gave you permission?" I had to turn back around and apologize. Listen, where God is taking me from. So it's best, talking from somebody who was a little stubborn, it's best you yield. Take it from me. Just yield. Just say, God,
Mm,
your way. And yes, I don't understand, and it's okay for me not to understand, but your way, your word says your thoughts are higher than my thoughts. So I'm
right.
limited and you're limitless. And so you just have to learn to trust. But everybody's journey is different though, Andrew.
It is, and even everybody's situation is different. When we're talking about even trusting and taking that kind of response towards God, we're not talking about the life threatening situations, right? We're not talking about abuse and that kind of scenarios, but the discomfort and the thoughts that will make you want to change the situation that you are in.
Hmm.
Trusting God through that. But an interesting thing, John, we met. I spoke about uncertainty being one of the things that blocks us, stops us, and gives us the sleepless nights. Um, there is a level of certainty that you now have when your
Hmm.
trust is in God,
Hmm.
and it's what you just spoke of, where things may not be the way you were accustomed to them. Your level of your source has shifted. The comforts that you're used to over the years have changed. The
Hmm.
guarantee that they gave you now has changed, and so there's a little level of discomfort. However, you have now shifted the responsibility from yourself to God,
Or the job to God
to job.
completely.
So what comes in now is the peace,
Mm-hmm.
the joy, but not only that, the recourse. If things not go well, you go right back to him. If him say him promise X and Y, you go back to him and you say, but Lord, this is your word. So what you find now is that you're now living in a level of certainty because your source is God.
Yeah,
It's no
absolutely.
longer up to you.
What used to happen in the middle of what I call the pit? If I didn't know how I was going to do something, you best believe it. I am sitting up all night, fretting, wondering how, trying to work out how much
Can't
plan,
sleep.
completely taxing. Now my situation is all right, God, you know that I have this to do. So you said you are my provider. So when you're ready, and I'm at the piece that you talk about is it still continues to amaze me, that piece of, here I am in this situation where, boy, I have school fees to pay, I have this to pay, I have that to pay, and I have no idea where that is coming from. But I know that I know that I know
He's going to work
he's
it out.
going to, right? Because that's what he has shown me. That's the character that he has shown me over these years. That I've never been left out in the cold. Always, he's always provided. And so I don't understand what would make me think that he wouldn't do it now.
Mhm,
Because
mhm.
for years he has done it. He's just provided,
Yeah.
you know? He's just always provided in that way. And so I'm so grateful for so many things. This year for me has been great because of what I've learned.
That
You
means
know,
it costs you a lot.
people are ticking off on their list of, oh, I learned, oh, I achieved this and I achieved that. Me, I'm excited because of what I have learned about God and the things of God. I'm just so excited. Um, it's whenever I think about it, I really, really get excited because I'm saying this is the setup for something great,
Yeah.
you know?
And I don't want people as to listen to us think that we're talking about our lives are in the churchyard, in a church building, and that's what our life is about. Oh no. Listen, God literally pulled us out to deal with us, reshape us, reorient us, to send us right back out. Hence why we're doing these lives, right? And we are now commissioned and very much excited to help other persons along the journey. So we were talking about earlier about what success, success means something different to everybody. Success is success, but the road to success is going to be different, right? The look of success is going to be different. One is
Hmm.
going to be superficial mostly, but I'm telling you, God is not a superficial God, but He also cares about both sides. So
Yeah.
His order is that He deals inside first, and then outside will be lasting and perfect. He doesn't shortchange the process. So people may see us in the journey of the making and the becoming and say, but them not look very successful. No, sir. Them don't look successful. But we're in
Why
a
should I listen to them, right? Because they're not successful, right?
process. And what you will find is that he's building from the inside out, right? So that when now the inside is dealt with and the outside begins to clean up and shape up and look beautiful, growth is going to be very rapid, right? Growth is also going to be lasting, because it makes no sense you shoot up overnight, the fame you can't handle, pressure you can't handle, all of a sudden you have sickness, all kind of things, all kind of ailments. You have insomnia, which was one of the things that plagued me when I was in corporate. You're not living a good life. So you may have a nice job, you may be getting a nice big pay, but you yourself as an individual, and by the way, you are the treasure of your life, but then you are destroying the most important part of you. And God says, no, I value you. And yes, there is abundance that I've promised you. Yes, I talk about blessings and riches, but before you get that, you have to be able to handle it. Before you get that, you have to become a good steward, because I can't give it to you for you to waste it, or for you to now use it to abuse other people. And so that's the whole thing about trusting God's process. There is so much sense to what I call his madness, because in my eyes, sometimes it looked like madness, but then it always turns out to be such a perfect plan. He knows exactly what he's doing, you know? So even now, Jan, it still is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Even though I can't contemplate, and I grapple with, you know, what my life was like, what it is like now. And in those moments, I would have my vision board, and I remember, you know, and the Holy Spirit is very a part of this journey, where he would remind me so gently and softly at times, remember why we're doing what we're doing. You know, be patient, and you are not alone in this process. That's a real thing. Sometimes I go to my bed sad, and he is faithful, Jan, to always give me a dream that gives me comfort, where he's literally speaking to me in such
Mm-hmm.
a gentle way, right? In such a gentle way. And it helps, you know, so you're also on this journey, not alone,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
It's
So,
about the preparation process. And if you think about it, kind of like baking a cake, the last stage of baking a cake is the hottest.
oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah, when you think of all the ingredients, putting in all the ingredients, stirring it up and everything, and putting it in the fire to be baked. But at the end of the day, when you get this marvelous thing, it is beautiful and it serves other people. You
Yeah.
know, um, I think that one of the things that actually for me is the biggest thing, and when I saw the greatest growth, is when I just said, you know what, Lord, I don't know, and I don't need to know. I just yield to you. And it
You
was
let
a
you
very
go.
it was a very hard place to come to,
Yeah.
because you know what happened? I took pride in the fact that, and I always told people, look, I'm a logical person, I'm a practical person, and so if it doesn't make sense to me, I'm not doing it, and blah blah blah, and on my high horse until God just gently just knocked me off of the high horse and said, all right, that's not where you belong. You know, that's not what I created you for. And some of them were hard to wrap my head around, and some things was as you said, so gentle that even though he's correcting you, it still feels so loving, and we get caught up in what society says we're supposed to be, and oh, where's our by the age of we're supposed to have the husband. Where we have a checklist of by the age of
A
certain,
checklist of
by the age of
superficial things.
hmm?
A checklist of superficial things, but not a checklist of internal. It's
Yeah,
not a well-being checklist most of the time.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know, but you
absolutely.
can't have one without the other. So we're
Hmm.
not we're not knocking success in, and I don't want to make that very clear, right?
Right.
We're not knocking wealth. We're not knocking um, excellence on the job. We're not knocking being promoted and stepping up the ladder. Not at all. But what we are advocating for is the order of things, so that when you get to that stage of abundance and success, you
You
can
manage it.
actually be a good steward, and you can manage it. You don't have to
Hmm.
break apart in the process. You know,
Yeah.
but you said something, Janet, I think we probably need to elaborate on. But then no, I forget what you said. There is something you said, and I said that would have been something so good for us to talk about.
It will come back. It
Come
will
back.
come back. It
It's
will
so
come
good.
back. So guys, what are your thoughts? What are your testimonies? What do you need to share? How do you feel about sharing? So many times I've shared with someone, and people will come back to me a year later, 2 years later, and say, "Remember when you told me so and so? It impacted me," and I don't remember saying anything or having that conversation. but it was just in the moment I was sharing. And so your stories, your experiences, it's nothing to be ashamed of, man. It's absolutely so that you can help other people. I remember when my first business failed, what actually put me into what focused me was that I was like, I made so many mistakes. Why should anybody else have to make those mistakes? And that's how I started developing this passion for helping people in business,
Mm-hmm.
because there were just like so many things. And I said, if someone was walking beside me, if someone was walking alongside me and say, hey, there's a pothole there, go left, or go right, or veer a little bit here, or whatever, or use this tool to get over that one. It would have made such a huge difference, right?
Yeah.
Just paying attention to critical things that can make or break your business in terms of how you make decisions. Very often people do things and they do it based on a feeling. And feelings, whilst important, can lead you down a very gnarly
Mm-hmm.
path.
Or you do things based on the fact that you were told it's always done that way. We were talking about this last week.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Absolutely. You know. Um, and so there are people that they're your stories, and you may, however you feel about your stories are important, your experiences are important, and especially once you've overcome, it really makes a huge difference
Somebody else. Yeah.
in somebody else's life, because they are right where there's nothing new under the sun. Let's just be very clear on that. So
Yeah.
when you think that you have a little, you have this
Unique
or this little
experience.
problem here, no, 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 no such thing. There are plenty of other people who are going through the same thing, and they need to hear your story of how you overcame, so that they too can overcome.
Yeah.
They too
Or,
can have
or
this.
how you are overcoming, even if you're
Right,
on the journey. The fact that you're still
right.
breathing, the fact that you can still have a smile on your face, though everything isn't perfect. Be open about those conversations. And it's a two-way benefit too, because even you, when you are talking to somebody else, one, your focus becomes on them. So you're trying to help
Mhm.
the person, but then you're also hearing yourself. So you're
Yeah.
also encouraging yourself in the process too. So you
Hmm.
also get a benefit from sharing. But I remember now
Hmm.
what I was gonna say, and I wanted us to kind of just mention, um, as a part of the testimony, some of the character changes.
Oh
So
wow.
I talk about the fact that God intentionally took a inward healing process. It's inside first and then out. That's God's method of doing it. And that's why his things don't always look glorious from day one, because he's doing it the right way, right? And
Hmm.
he's not on a short step his process.
Right.
So he works on your character. He works on healing your inner person. He works on getting purpose clarified so that you know what you're about. He works on reshaping your image of yourself.
Your identity, or clarifying your identity so that you can see it for what it is, because he knew from day one what it
Right.
was.
But you need to know, because that's what's going to steer the decisions you make, the relationships you form, the partnerships you form, how you respond to things, but characteristics. So I can tell you for sure, I was very impatient when I was in corporate.
Yep.
Listen, man, my work was just so important to me. Excellence was on top. I have great relationships with people, but I was very impatient. And while the impatience will affect people, it also affected me because it caused me a lot of stress and headache, right? Because I'm worried about things. I had the perfectionist syndrome. So things had
Hmm.
to be perfect. So, I'd had a lot of migraines. I had the insomnia that came along with it. And God literally had to break me, right? Break me to the point where I'm looking at myself and I said, oh, it's so calm. I'm saying, when did you get so patient and tolerant of
Yep.
things?
Yep.
When did you learn to turn a blind eye and to just say, okay, I don't need to make a big deal about this matter right now. Who are you?
Yup, yup.
So that
That
for me
was
is what.
definitely me, boy. I remember telling my staff, I said, look, do not come into my office with a problem if you don't have a possible solution. I remember one of somebody who worked with me, one of my mentees, she said to me that I threw her in the deep end and told her to swim. So I always said to her, but you swam, don't it? But that was my method. Like, listen,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember saying to her, listen, one day, I said, listen, don't, she used to come into my office with a whole of paper. And I got vexed one day. I said, listen, do not come back in here with no hope of paper. If you can't get a book, go to the station. And I was so, listen, people were afraid to come into my office.
Yeah.
People were afraid to come into my office. God had to change that. God
Yeah.
had to, God had to save some people from me.
And again, don't get it wrong. It's not that we're saying standards don't matter. I think with
Mhm.
God, it's the how we do what
Yeah,
we do and the why we do it.
yeah,
So we
yeah.
choose our words differently. How we would say we're saying the same exact thing, but we're saying it covered and coated with love. We're saying it in a
Yeah,
way that the person can actually receive it and want to change rather than feel condemned or feel inferior,
yeah,
in the moment. So we're still pressing people to be excellent and to grow, but it's the how you're doing it that changes. And that's one of the
yeah,
things that he also changes with us because now everything is about love. Everything is not about your goals and your reputation and your standard. But now you realize you are a part of a team and you realize that you're working with people of
hmm,
value. And
yeah,
whether or not they are developed yet or not, how dare you to treat someone less than value? And God had to deal with me about that. So I see people very differently. I value people very differently. And I'm very, very careful of what I say and what I don't say because I know I'm
yeah.
accountable to Him. You
And
know,
your words carry weight.
your words carry weight. It's literally life and death is in the power of the tongue. And we're not that conscious because sometimes we're so focused on meeting the deadline, accomplishing the goal. My boss wants this. And so the job becomes more important than the person. And then God had
Hmm.
to say to me, absolutely not. People first. People first.
Hmm. And you say, but God, they just don't get it. Boy,
People first.
impatient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
can
another thing
definitely relate.
that changed with me for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And that the perfectionism for me was another thing. Like getting things right and getting things. And I think I was a little intolerant when people just never get it. So if I have to explain it to you more than one time, all right, moving along.
Just the look on your face, they will
Yes.
know. They will probably wonder, why was I born? But you, but because you're not intending to do that, but that's how it comes across, and somebody might take that meaning, and you don't
Yeah,
realize how you
yeah,
affect somebody.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
the intolerance, I know that one to Jen. Trust me.
yeah.
But when heads are tough, kind of a thing. Yeah.
Trust me.
Whereas we could have become more creative in how we teach people.
Yeah,
You know.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. He really needed take a grade 5 sandpaper to us.
Yeah. And you know what? Again, as I said before, it's what your eyes are on. If your focus is always on just meeting a deadline or accomplishing a task, then you're going to do that by all means necessary. If your focus is always on loving and valuing people, then in accomplishing your task, you're always going to do it in a way that honors lives. So you're still going for the same objective, but your focus is going to be different. And how you garnish what you do is going to be different because of what is most important.
Hmm. Hmm. I mean, I always talk about something that impacted my life so much. I always remember Mrs. Joan Duncan from JMB, the founder of JMB, Jamaica Money Market, where she always said, if I take care of my people, the profits must come.
Must.
And I lived to see that be a thing. You know, JMB is one of the most successful comp um, companies now. Tanya is saying understanding and valuing the uniqueness of each person is so important because guess what happened? God didn't make Janice and her little clones. He made Janice and Tanya and Andrea and Kimberly. He made us all different, but we all
Different.
have something to contribute to the process. You know, when he sometimes we come together in teams and we think we're there, you know, by chance. There's no such thing. You know, you are here with each other to build each other up, to make each other better, to leave somebody better than you met them. That's very
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
You know, and so even this whole concept of people over profits, it's not something that mainstream business sees and understand, but it's very important. That is always God's way. God's way is always people over profit. Always people. It's always people.
And what we don't realize is that God is also about profit because He is a
Yeah.
God of multiplication. He is
Mm-hmm.
a God of increase. So He
Yeah.
wants profit, but He's not going to compromise the process and the order of things. And the quicker we get that people are valuable, and that the fact that everybody is unique and they have different mix and everybody brings something different to the table. So as a leader, how do I harness that? Right?
Mm-hmm.
When I'm successful at doing that, then you create a platform and a base that now grows profit.
Yeah.
But we always get so distracted and focused on the beat kind of a way to get results and not realize that if we try the love kind of a way, you actually get much better results because now you're not doing it on your own. You have a team who is committed. You have a team who is all in. You don't have to be badgering anybody. They're going to volunteer to work late. They're going to take on the stuff. They're going to solve problems and you don't have to get involved. This is now when you engage your team and you have to love your people. You have to be concerned about them. You have to care about them for them to become that on the job. So we
Mm-hmm.
have a responsibility to do it. So definitely one of the things that we've learned, Jan, is
Mm-hmm.
the better way and the best way
Oh, absolutely.
accomplishing all that we want to accomplish in life. God's way is the better way, and it always
Always.
involves people being cherished and valued.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's counterculture, we know. We're,
Mm-hmm.
we're very clear that it's counterculture, but God's way is counterculture. End of story.
Yeah.
It just is. And so, what other characteristic did he build?
For me, I think my posture, we kind of touch on it, but I just want to kind of shape it. That posture of I'm an independent woman. Let me just tell you what I was, right? I've got my thing together, right? That was me. Like I've got my things worked out, and I have moved now where I am relying on him. I am dependent on him, and what I have found is that it makes my everyday so much lighter and easier because now everything is not dependent on me. So there is this added weight that was there before that's now lifted. So even
Mm-hmm.
though you're still dealing with the uncertainties, even though you have to trust God, the space in which you operate in, we spoke about the peace earlier and the joy coming in, but it's because now you've shifted your dependence from yourself
Mm-hmm.
to Him. Now
Mm-hmm.
that was a task for
And,
Him.
yeah.
His girlfriend here was very, very independent, right? So God had to deal with me a different kind of way, right? To break.
We came from the era where, listen, always have your own stuff, always do, and that's how you were taught.
Yeah.
Hey, Andre. And that's how we're taught. We're taught to be independent women. That's how we're taught, and you grow up being this independent woman, and you've got it all together, and all of your stuff. And what you also did in the process was that you are you shut some people out. I remember this instance, right? And to be very honest, it's not something I thought about. I just did it. I was still in teenage years. I was probably about 18, 19. And I was at my house doing something, and a friend of mine was in the kitchen with me. I was cooking something, and I needed something up on the cupboard, and I didn't even stop to think that he was there to ask him to do it. I just climbed up and got it myself. And he was so mad. And I couldn't understand why he was so mad. Because I'm saying, if you weren't there, I would have done it anyway.
Yeah, so what's the big deal?
What's the big deal? I think. And then another friend of mine, a guy, I was sharing it with him, and he says, John. And he explained it to me, and I was like, I said, well, to be very honest, I have been taught to do everything for myself. So I don't even stop to ask anybody anything.
Yeah.
I just do my thing.
Just automatically do it.
It's just automatic. I just do my thing. I don't ask nobody. I don't. I just always seem to have it all together.
And we don't.
And we don't. So of course, when the breaking starts inside, right? And you can't open your mouth and tell anybody because people
You,
see you as having it all
you
together.
have to keep the image
You have
together,
to keep the
girl.
image together, right? And you're like, no, I can't tell anybody. Nobody can know that this is how I feel. And you keep it, and it eats away at you. And that's how the insomnia, and that's how the migraines, and that's how weight
Yeah,
loss,
yeah. The
all
different
sorts of things,
manifestations of
different
stress,
illnesses. Yeah, it's not worth it, though,
the
guys.
breakouts. Yeah, yeah. And it's not even like something that we get up and say, this is who I'm going to become.
Mm-hmm.
We are cultured that way.
Yeah,
And so what I've also realized out of the process, and we've spoken about this, Jan, the need to be conscious, the need to be present, the need to be very intentional, because if you're not intentional, you are still living a life, but it's not a life that you have designed for yourself.
right.
And we're not aware of that culture has seeped in. Culture has shaped what we do, how we think, how we feel. And we're just going along, following somebody else's script, thinking that we are making the decisions when we're not.
Yeah,
Only
yeah,
when we kind of stop and say, hold on, let me be very conscious. Why am I even doing this? Why am I thinking this way? Why am I feeling this way? If I take this decision, what will happen? But if I take this other decision, what will happen? What are my values? What are my beliefs? Who does this benefit? Is this a something selfish? Is this something that will work for the team? It's only when you get to that place where start being present and you take your mind to the conscious level and you're actually making these intentional decisions that you get to shape your life, you know?
yeah,
So that's another thing that I've also learned. The importance of being sober, the importance of being present, the importance of making my decisions myself and not
yeah,
have culture, not have the world, not have people decide for me.
yeah, yeah.
So
And
that
even
was
so many times you will ask somebody, well, why did you do that? And they go, I don't know. It's kind of that thing where you do stuff and you just don't know why you're doing it.
yeah,
And that to
automatic.
me is a point of starting to question, really question. Another clue to that is when several different people, unrelated, will come and tell you some things. Pay attention. And it's the same thing that keeps coming at you. If it keeps coming at you several times, then chances are there's something you're not seeing. And
Hmm.
and it's good to be open to hearing from other people because we all have blind spots. We all have blind spots. And the sooner, you just listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the biggest one I want to talk about is
Uh-huh.
I, dealing with offense. We kind of
Oh
touched
Lord.
on that in a previous session,
Mm.
right? This world, this life, you're going to get offense left, right, and center. And I used to take a lot of things personal. Listen to me now, Jan. I used to take things personal and talk about passive aggressive,
Mm.
about passive regret, revengeful, right? Everything I did was very passive because you're never ever going to be able to point a direct finger. And I mean, I was very cunning in what I did because I'm a smart person. So I could come up with creative ways of doing things passively, getting back at you passively without you even realizing my parts of the process. Um, and that's one of the things that God had to shine light on me and say, you're ugly. That part of you is ugly. And then, but he also had to open my thinking and understanding of offenses and the
Mm-hmm.
fact that I can't prevent someone from doing something that may hurt my feelings or disappoint me or even disrespect me. But the question is, why do I have to respond to it? If you know who you are and you know whose you are, then you don't have to be so caught up and carried away by somebody's whether it's malicious or unintended statements that might cut you to pieces if you're so concerned about what they think about you. You know, so that's one of the things where I realize, listen, offense is going to be a part of life. And he said it, offenses are going nowhere, right? Expect the offenses, but you don't have to respond to the offenses. So that
Mm-hmm.
is one of the I think one of the biggest things that I've seen a change in my life, not
Mm-hmm.
having to take things as personal, and not even coming up with this very silent, quiet agenda to get back at somebody because she says something wrong or you know that kind of a thing, and it burn you to the core.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Know that
Yep.
feeling, right? And you know, us women are very good with that because we catty naturally. But yeah, but God have to say, no, sir. Could they? No, sir. You need more lights. It's like 600 flashlights. You have to flash, shine on me for sure me, right? No, clean up that. No, clean up that. So I went through that process.
But
And
you know, you hit the nail on the head though, Andrea, about identity. And we can't stress that enough about knowing who you are. You see, if you don't know who you are, every wind can come and box you all over the place. So somebody can just come and offend you.
throw you off,
Um,
just like
Throw
that.
you off completely. So you come out and you're chirpy, you're having a wonderful day, and somebody says, "It's what that you have on." Oh Lord, your entire day is gone.
You never wear
Like,
that last week.
you know, there are just so many things that could throw you off. But you see, if you know who you are, my thing is, oh, that person is having a bad day. It's not about me. That's where I am now. Like, it's not about me. I don't take it personally. I mean, I had to I had to walk that road where God, kind of showed me this is how I see you. And I go, Lord, you see me like that, but this is how I see me. He says, this is who you are over here. And I have to give up that story and examine all the stories that over here that made me over here. And a
Yeah.
lot of them were lies, like we discussed last week. A lot of things that we believe about ourselves are lies and not who God intended for us to be. And so it's important. So when you go through life with this wrong impression, wrong identity of who you are, then all sorts of things are gonna come and bother you and trouble you because um, that's not who you're intended to be. And if you're confident with who you are, then you react so differently, so
There's
completely
no. Oh,
differently.
sorry, darling.
Yeah, and also, you know what somebody over here does is that they make up stories over why you look on them that way, why you said what you said, and you spend. So somebody might say something in passing or in jest, and you spend the next 2 3 hours trying to figure out. if it's because this or if it's because that, and just all sorts of stories that we build. So your identity is critical, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, as I was saying to you, just to add on to that, it doesn't mean that people won't hurt you. So the
Mm-hmm.
feeling of being, hurt, disrespected, disappointed, those feelings are never gonna go away. So it's now also, how do I process those feelings when I have them?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that God taught me to do is acknowledge the feeling. It don't make no sense. You deny that you're angry, you're vexed, you're hurt,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
A hurt man, but cut up. Admit to the feeling. But what you do is prevent the feeling from making the decisions on how you will respond thereafter. And
Yeah.
so what you have to do now is to offload. And that was what the Lord taught me. Acknowledge it, but no, you have to lay it at my feet. You have to offload it, because if you keep it, it's going to grow. It's going to
And
grow, and it's going to
fester.
determine how you feel, how you respond to the person. It's going to set the mindset. Your attitude is going to change. You're going to assume that everybody like this person is going to be like them, and it just creates a whole lot of stuff. And so you now have to offload, and that's a part of the journey. So with him, you're walking with him, you're in a relationship with him, and part of what he does is that he takes from you, from the experiences we have in this world, in our interactions with each other. He's saying, I'm the one you load it up on. Don't abuse the people them. Don't put them in them place because you take them out of order. Come to me. That's what
Yeah.
God says. Deal with me. You don't have to deal with the people. Deal with me. And he's the one who deals with us. So it's a journey,
Yep.
and it continues. Pray for me.
It continues. Trust me.
It
Yeah.
continues.
Yeah. As you said that, I remember um when I was having a really tough time in my marriage. And God used to say, tell me the same thing, come to me. And I used to, whenever I had something to say, I used to run in the bathroom and lock up because that's the only way to be sure that my mouth wouldn't get me in trouble.
Yeah. Do what you
Because
have to do.
let me tell you, because I had the answers rapid. I literally had
And
to.
when we spit,
Oh my God.
it's
I
darts
just
and knife
I
and daggers.
literally had to run into the bathroom and lock the door and say, God, God,
Yeah.
help. Because what was going through my mind if it ever hit my mouth? Oh boy.
Yeah. So
you
learning
know?
to even control your tongue.
Yes, that's critical.
Learning
That
to
is so
control your tongue.
critical. That's so critical. I mean, I appreciate the fact that we can now look back at these experiences and look at where we're coming from. We can laugh about them, but for some people, it's real. And you're
Yeah.
right in the middle of it right now. But we are here to tell you that you don't have to keep it. It doesn't have to always be that way. God says, cast all your cares upon me because I care for you. And I literally had to take that word and make it personal. And whenever I come, I say, all right, Lord, see here is everything. And I dump on him, and it better you dump on God, please. Dump
Yeah.
on God rather than dumping on people. Because
Yeah. And she's the
break
one that you can dump on. You can
people
take
are
it.
breakable. People are breakable,
Yeah. God isn't.
right? We're
Yeah.
breakable. We will break, but God won't. So I'm encouraging you guys to offload, and also just be patient with yourself in the process. Give yourself grace. um I thought I would have been out of this how long ago, and I've made plans to be out of this growth phase for a long time, and every year I have to go back and make more plans. But I stopped doing that now. I'm just working with God. But yeah, um it's important for you to just acknowledge um, who you are and who God is in your life. And that,
Amen.
you know,
And the trust.
yeah,
Trust,
and
trust
just
him.
trust Him. Yeah, yeah,
Trust
that's
him. Trust him.
important.
He knows a whole lot more than we do. And he knows the beginning from the end. So he's the person to trust.
Yeah,
So trust him. Bless you guys. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, it's really great to have you. Next week, I think, might be our last week for this
For the
year.
year. Yeah.
But next year, we're coming back with really big and interesting things. So listen out.
Oh
Listen
wow.
out, listen
Yes,
out, listen
yes,
out.
yes.
We're going to be doing interesting things in the new year. So, but we let you know. Just keep checking our pages. And for those of you on YouTube, please like and subscribe to this channel so that you'll know the next time that we go live, and that we will share interesting things. So we're back here one more time next week, Monday night, and we ask you to join us at 7 o'clock Eastern. And we look forward to being with you. As a matter of fact, drop us a note and tell us what you want us to talk about next week, and
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
will we will do that.
We'll take it into consideration.
Yeah. As long as we can talk about it, of course,
So that's
clearly.
something we can talk about.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah,
Well, thank
yeah,
you for staying with us, guys. I appreciate it. And
yeah,
also share the link
yeah.
if you think it would benefit somebody.
All right.
All right.
Bye,
Night
guys.
night. Thanks, Jan.
Thank you.